Hey everyone, it's Ryan1940 here. Today we're taking a look at Battleship Command. This will be a quick tutorial on using that gun director so that you can get into combat pretty easily. It's not a lot to learn here. We just picked up contact, so we're actually in the channel. Pretty sketchy here. And the visibility has been reported at 22 kilometers. We've got a bearing to a target at 52 degrees to starboard, which is going to be this guy. And the older one, 18 to port, is closer here. So this looks like it's a friendly. So these are filters. If you're wondering what this is, you can just hit tab and it brings up your ship sighted and your fleet stuff. And you can click these on and you'll filter whatever. So we've got a French vessel that's on our side, or merchant here. Anton 1 is the contact that we want to go after, and that is a, if we click on it, we can get more information. It's a Bidwell class tanker. And this information is very important. The speed from what the lookouts see and the heading will help you a lot with our gunnery. So the distance is 12 kilometers. If you hit tab, you can open and close this, and you want to refer to this quite a bit to see if the lookouts have determined the heading. Sometimes you won't get all this information, and you'll kind of get generalizations. You might say get a heading of like southwest or something like that. And speed being a range, so they'll say like 5 to 10 knots or something like that. So anyways, this is good. We've got some good information here. I'm also with Gunnery now. I think you can probably see her back there, and she's not shooting because if I hit tab again and I go to my fleet, I can click on the other Scharnhorst class, which is Gunnery now, and I can tell it to hold fire and stay in formation. So that's what they're doing. If we want to get them to not do that, we can just turn off the hold fire and tell them to target at will, and they will go ahead and start shooting at those contacts, or the enemy contact that's out there. Now we want to go to the gun director. We can click this icon down here, or we can just hit 3. Now we're in the gun director. First thing we want to do is probably turn this on. This is going to be our radar ranging. It is very useful, and I'll show you how to use it. And we want to go after that target that we said is 18 degrees to port. Well, now she's 34 degrees to port, so hit tab once again. We can see the bearing to a relative bearing from us. So if we go to 34, this is 20 right here. This will be 30, and we're saying 34, so roughly about half that distance. And obviously I can't see anything that far away, so I can click here for the magnification. So there she is. You can see we're kind of moving, so if we center that over it and click on the contact with a left click, that's kind of finicky. There we go. Is that following? No, it's not following. It takes a while, but there's a locking. There it is. Kind of a spot that you got to get to lock it on. So you want to hit left click over the contact and you'll get it. So now we need to start plugging in our various bits and bobs. So first off, let's slow down so we've got some, we're not blowing past this as I go through this slowly to teach you guys. The first thing we need to do is we'll take a look at this side of the board. Now this is our course that we're driving, and these are like relative bearings to port and starboard, and this is the actual compass heading. So we're going like 080. You can tell down here also, and this is what we gotta say what the ship's angle on bow, or whatever their course is. So if you look at it, remember we're looking at it kind of from a lower plane. This is a top-down view, so seeing that this is going sideways doesn't necessarily mean that that's like this matching this visual angle is going to be the same, right? Because this is top-down, but that's okay. It's there's an easier way. If you don't have the crew members telling you what the ship's course is, then you'll have to kind of imagine, translate this angle on bow to this. But if you hit tab once again, we saw our lookouts are saying that the guy's going 250, so I wasn't too far off. I was kind of guessing around here just from this visual, but it's 250. So we want to line up the 0, or the nose of the enemy ship on this board, to 250, because that's the course they're going. Now the next thing we need to do, we don't have to adjust this. This is just it's going to change as we change our heading. We want to adjust the target speed. So if we click on them, it says they're going 0 knots. So I can also see that because it's barely moving once I release the lock. If it was moving, or if there's like a high bearing rate, then I could imagine the speed might be kind of high relative to our distance from them. but we're going 20 knots, and looking at the target, it doesn't seem to be moving that much, so I know it's going to be between 0 and 5 knots just from my own guessing. But they're saying it's 0, so we'll report it as much. And then we can switch over to here. So we got the target speed and their angle, and we need to figure out the range. So if you hit the W or the S keys, that moves the range up and out, up and down. I should also say, if you want to adjust this, it's going to be your A and D keys. So remember, use A and D. You can move it quickly by holding the Shift key. So same thing with the range. So shift this out, and we'll watch this radar range. Okay, there we go. So our sailors are reporting the guys at 9 kilometers. So we're kind of in the ballpark, but when you first start out, the aim distance is like super low, so we want to expand out and we want to watch this dial come to life. So that is, when you center that up, that is the range that the contact's at. So they're at 9,300 meters, and we basically have everything we need for our fire solution. We'll see this as we're driving. This will keep increasing or could decrease depending on our geometry, so we'll want to keep adjusting that. Right now we have AP ammo loaded, but because this is a merchant, we probably want to switch to HE. And these indicators here kind of show you the relative direction that the turrets are pointing. Sometimes if you're approaching a contact, your third gun might be masked, the Charlie turret or the Caesar turret. But you see here, if they say that they're trained, loaded, and ready, that means basically they're all just ready to fire. Now they're not, because we told them to reload with the correct ammo that we want. So now they are. You can also disable certain guns if you just don't want to fire them, and you can adjust their fire control. By default, it's going to be main. We can also do that for our fire control for our secondary batteries. So right now they're set to aux, and I'm not aiming from the aux one. I'm aiming from the main one. So these guys should light up eventually when they're ready, because there they go. So the forward 2 port secondary batteries can shoot at this guy, and we can hit fire button, or we can hit salvo to fire all of them. So all 4 of them now are trained on the target. So if I hit Q, I'm going to fire all my secondary guns at the same time. It's basically the same as hitting that button there. So I'll do that, make sure our range is kind of lined up, and then we'll wait. We'll see what happens. Okay, really good secondary hits first on the contact. Now let's fire the main gun. So we can do individual turrets just by hitting the fire button. We'll see how one of them does, and we'll reload, and then we'll do a big salvo of all the main guns. Ooh, 2 of those 3 guns hit, so that's really great. And once again, we're still adjusting our range because we're moving while even though this contact is stationary. Okay, so we're all ready, and if we want to do a big salvo fire, we can just double check our range and then hit the space bar. And then you can use the mouse wheel to lean into the sight or not. So it's got like 3 hits there, that's pretty good. We'll hit Q, fire our secondaries. They're probably hurting already. They took quite a beating. Oof. And then reduce the range once again. Fire Q, and then we'll hit the space bar. So we just did 2 salvos, one from the secondary batteries and then one from the main batteries. Secondaries, and that's the mains. Alright, she's sinking, I think, pretty soon. Well, eventually you'll get a message up here when the vessel is actually sinking. So you can choose to wait it out, or you can... actually, I think she's sunk already. Yeah, there she goes. We didn't get the message. That's strange. Interesting. Yeah, usually... Oh, there it goes. Anton is sinking. So a little delayed there, but you do get that message. Sometimes you get it sooner. But you can obviously visually see that, and you'll know that we saw the radar contact just drop off, so I knew it was sinking at that point. There is no button to immediately return your turrets to their centerline position, so once the contact is over, What you can do is just right click to move it, and remember the bearings you see up here are relative. So this is port 20 degrees, and the 0 obviously is the center line. So if we look down here, we can see our center line of the ship, and when we see that this is trained, we know that those guns are trained to where we pointed, so they're pointed center line, and I can just disable them. So now they won't move when I turn this sight. Now if I want to center up the main battery aft gun there you see down there, I'll just do the same thing. I'll point to 180, and then once this says trained, and we can also look here, we'll see that it goes to 0, and I can just disable the gun. There you go. So now I can just look around, and it's not going to disrupt where my guns are pointing, because now at this point I'm just cruising around. And I think that's all you need to know. Once again, use the tab button to see information about the ships around you. Sometimes you get them like this where it's unknown and you're going to have to guess. You make your best educated guesses. Other times your lookouts know exactly what's happening. They know the course and speed of the vessel, and so you can dial that stuff in pretty quickly and begin to look around 17 kilometers on your gun sight. Remember, you can adjust this. This is just your heading that you're driving, or the course that you're going down. But you must adjust this with the A and D keys. You can hold shift to make it go faster. Line that up. If you have to visually figure it out yourself, look at the angle on bow and kind of make a judgment call. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you get in the ballpark with all these, you have 3 guns per turret throwing shells at this thing, and you can kind of figure it out and adjust your fire that way. Use the radar rangefinder, so turn that on and wait, and hit the A or W keys to adjust your aim distance, and then you'll see this kind of change. And once you see the spike on the center line, that's when you know you got the range. And remember, you want to adjust it as you guys are both moving. You'll have to constantly adjust it as you are firing different salvos. The target speed, you just have to use this knob to do that. You can eyeball this too. It doesn't have to be perfect. A lot of times if I'm looking at a warship initially, I'm assuming they're probably going to try to go pretty fast to close the distance and engage me. So I'm roughly thinking maybe 20 knots. If it's seen by the lookouts that maybe they are in a range of 15 to 10 knots, then I'll just half it, maybe go 12 knots. And if they're going slower, obviously, if they're barely moving, then I'll go maybe a couple knots, and then adjust accordingly when I see what my shells are doing. You can figure out if your shells are going long, that perhaps you maybe, say if a contact's really going like 5 knots, but I didn't know that and I said that they're going 10 knots. When you fire your shells, what's going to happen is you might, depending on what say if their course is, we'll just say relative to us, kind of like a flat angle, like they're going to the left. If I set my speed too high, but I got my range dialed in because I know it's pretty close because of that radar spike, what's going to happen is that those shells will probably fly forward and splash forward of the contact. That's when I know my speed is off. So that's a cue for me to dial my speed back, because the gun is anticipating that it needs to shoot further ahead of the contact because the contact's going to meet it over time, right? So if my speed is off, you can see your shells are either forward or after the target. And then it's kind of similar with the angle, but that one's a little bit more complicated to dissect. So focus on the speed. If you're relatively close by just looking at the ship, it's not a big deal if you're like 10, 20, 30 degrees off. The range and the speed are the big ones. Obviously, it will affect you if you got the ship going completely the wrong way. And I've done this before in this situation where the angle on bow was kind of like this. And just because of the haze, I didn't realize the stern was pointed at me, and not the bow like I thought. So what was happening is the shells were falling. I was saying that I'm getting confused here myself. Basically, I had it set up backwards, so the shells were falling behind, I think. And I couldn't quite figure it out because it didn't make sense, because I would adjust the speed and nothing would make sense. So check your angle on bow. Sometimes the fog and stuff can be pretty bad, but it's getting better. I've gotten hits at 29,000 meters, so that's pretty impressive. Anyways, this is enough for a tutorial. You can definitely get into this. This is really easy to pick up, and I think we covered all of it. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and I'll get to them as soon as possible. See you on the next one. Bye.